Hey everyone, welcome back to another um, webinar for Aging in Place directory members. It's raining like cats and dogs outside, and thundering like crazy, so I hope this doesn't get cut off. Anyway, I hate redoing videos. Anyway, last week I talked about a podcast guesting, a great way to promote your business or website or whatever, simply by offering yourself as a guest on other people's podcasts. That way, you wouldn't have to create a podcast. You really wouldn't have to do anything except answer questions and talk about who and what you do. It's basically networking online via a podcast. Some of them do it by Zoom, some by audio, phone, anything at all to get your voice out there. But this week, I thought I would talk about actually doing your own podcast. I put my podcast, I do 3 podcasts, and I put them off for a very long time. I just didn't want to get into it. I didn't think it was all that necessary. We were doing so well with our websites, but after Google's apocalypse and all the changes that they made back in 2023, it's become more important now to diversify and get the information out as many different ways as you can. So I personally do YouTubing. I just finished a YouTube video. I do podcasting and, of course, article writing, and then, of course, a lot of articles on LinkedIn, on Facebook, Pinterest, anything at all. You want to diversify as much as possible. But today we're going to talk about podcasting. It's really not that difficult. It's not expensive, and it's very easy to do. If you can talk, you can podcast. And since you're an aging in place professional, you have a skill that a lot of people are not aware of, don't quite know what to do, how to do. How many times have you heard somebody say, that now they are caring for an aging parent and they don't know where to start? This is where you come in. All right, so let's get to it. The tips are very easy. All right, so the very first thing you want to do is you have an idea of what your podcast is going to be about. Is it going to be broad, like, all about aging in place? Is it going to be about, bathroom renovations? Is it going to be about caregiving and how, all the challenges that come along with caregiving? What's it going to be? You can make it broad. You can make it, niche, whatever you like. You can even start off broad and then end up niche. You can change it as you go along. Don't spend too much time focusing. It doesn't have to be perfect. The point is that you just start. And what you can do is you can use Chat or Gemini or Perplexity or Claude, whatever AI program you prefer, and brainstorm some ideas. There's a little prompt here. Give me 10 podcast episode topics for aging in place pros, for family cares. You can even tell them a little bit about what you do, who you are, and it will give you back some ideas. But the point is, have an idea, and then, of course, the name. The name of the directory should reflect what it is that you're going to be talking about. All right. So then you want to create just a simple outline, just the idea of, okay, I'm going to do a welcome, and then I'm going to talk about the main topic. And should I add a story or not? Well, you can. You can do that sometimes. You don't have to do it all the time. Maybe you don't even have to talk about the topic itself. Maybe it's just a straight interview. And then, what is your takeaway message? Of course, you're going to always say something like subscribe to my podcast, visit my website, contact me at abc@gmail.com, whatever. And invite listeners, of course, to sign up for your newsletter. If you're holding a contest, maybe you'll announce that. But at the end is when you're going to make those announcements. Of course, you can do it at the beginning and at the end. The best thing that I can say is to listen to a few podcasts and see how they do it. Mine are different each time. I haven't quite gotten, into a rhythm of them as of yet. I share one podcast with my partner for seniorsafetyadvice.com. The Aging in Place Directory podcasts, I think I mostly do. I'm not sure. My partner may be doing those as well. I just know I'm churning them out. And then the beauty is that you can do a few in a day and then schedule them. So the podcasts will come out even while you're on vacation or taking a month off or whatever. But the idea is just to have an outline. And I would say listen to a few podcasts if you haven't yet. And then it doesn't have to be on aging in place. It can be on any topic. Listen to a few and get an idea of how they do it. Some have music. Some have standard intros. Some just go straight into talking. Some have commercials because they're sponsored. And that's a way to get paid with your podcast, is once you start getting a lot of people listening to your podcast, then you can start soliciting for sponsors, or sponsors may even come to you and say, listen, how much would it be to put a little commercial on your site, on your podcast for a month or two, or, whatever. It's just a great way to earn a little bit of income, different income. All right. So what is it that you need? People think, oh, you need a lot of equipment or whatever. No, it's not like that. All you really need is a camera if you're doing a YouTube video. I personally like to do videos and podcasts. In other words, I'm videotaping myself doing the podcast. And the reason that I do that is because I just realized that the light was probably in the glasses. Sorry. The reason for that is because I want to go after two audiences. Some people will listen to podcasts on YouTube, but I like also that sometimes a podcast I have, like a show and tell kind of thing, just like I'm doing here. And I want to showcase that, but then I can turn that into a podcast as well. You'll get an idea, but anyway, that's all you need. If you don't want to do the camera, then all you need is a microphone. And headphones make it easier to hear what it is that especially if you're doing an interview, it's much easier to hear exactly what the person is saying. But you don't have to. It's not mandatory. It just depends on how good your microphone is. And then the recording software. You can use Zoom. You can use Podbean app. There's others as well. I use ScreenPal. That's the one that I use for both audio and video. That's what I'm using here now to create these videos. And it's the same one that I use for podcasting as well. All right. Recording your podcast. You want to have it in a quiet space. A lot of times I've started a podcast and the lawnmower starts outside, and hopefully that doesn't come through. Or I'm starting a podcast and the cats are meowing in the back, and you want to try and find a quiet space. Don't fret if there's a little bit of noise here and there, as long as it's not constant, consistent. You don't want jackhammering behind you, but you want to try and have a quiet space. You want to keep it brief, about 10, 20 minutes, although I have to tell you, lately I've been hearing a lot of podcasts up to an hour. They're so long. But they're filled with good information, so I get it. But, mostly a lot of people will tend to kind of their mind wanders away after 20 minutes or so. So it really doesn't take that long to do a podcast. You don't have to have a full-length play, just a little short skit. And don't worry about mistakes. I do a lot of mistakes on my podcasts, on my YouTube videos, here on these webinars, and I purposely don't edit them. I purposely don't try to take them, out, because I want to display, a friendliness, casual type of environment or speech or whatever you want to call it. I don't want it to be so stiff and so uptight. I see a lot of YouTube videos with millions of subscribers, and the guy's, his hair's all messed up, and or the girl, and they're sitting in their bedroom with an unmade bed, and and yet they're doing very well. So You don't have to be, of course, you're a professional, so you don't necessarily want that background, but you want to just be as casual and friendly as possible in your speech, in your demeanor, and all of that. So don't worry about mistakes. It's fine, especially at the beginning. A year from now, after you've done 50, 100 podcasts, you'll look back and probably think, oh, how could that first one be so bad? But you know what? It doesn't matter. So you can use tools like Audacity and Alitu. I have Audacity. I use that to edit. But frankly, I haven't used that in a while because ScreenPal does a lot of editing. So I use ScreenPal for just about for everything, as far as video and audio. All right. So now it's your turn. If you have a podcast, now it's your turn to start getting guests. So invite people, contact other aging in place professionals. Look at your LinkedIn list of professionals, caregivers. See what caregivers are willing to share with you, community leaders on your topic, healthcare providers, anybody at all. All you need is a simple little invitation. Obviously, you're going to start with people you know. And then I use the program Calendly, which is free. And I love that program. It's such a great way for people to schedule time with you. And you can you can set it up 30 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes, whatever. And then send them a link for each particular time slot. And then you set up your calendar as, your availability. And I use Google Calendar as my main calendar. So I tied Calendly along with Google and with texting. So when someone signs up on Calendly, I get a text, and then it also gets automatically put into my Google Calendar so that I can plan for that event, that time. So anyway, yes, look for guests. I will tell you that doing guest podcasts are one of the easiest ways to do a podcast, because all you have to do is come up with a list of questions. You give it to the person, say, here's 20 questions. I can ask you any of the 20. If there's any that you want me to remove, just let me know. And I can ask you any of what's left over, and we'll go from there. And, just keep it to 20 minutes, no more than an hour. Although sometimes when you're talking about a product or a company, it's very easy to go to an hour. You'll be surprised. But the person is doing the majority of talking. All you're doing is asking questions and listening. So it's one of the easiest ways to do a podcast. I need to do more of those, actually. All right. Now, publishing your podcast is super easy. It's just once you have it recorded on your computer, now it's a file. You're going to download it, put it on your computer. And then all you do is upload it to whatever program you use. There's Buzzsprout, and then there's Podbean. I think if you're going to start off, I think Podbean is a good way to go because it's free for 5 hours. If you do 5 hours of podcasting, so let's say you do a podcast every week, and each one is an hour, which is a lot, then that's only 4 hours. Most of the time, even if you have 5 weeks in a month, then you're going to do 5 hours, and that's completely free. And then what you do once you are in the program in Buzzsprout and Podbean, you're going to automatically set it up so that you're going to set it up initially for it to get distributed to programs that people go to. Like I go to Spotify. That's what I have on my phone to listen to my podcasts. Listen to the podcast that I subscribe to. And so Podbean or Buzzsprout will send it to Apple and Amazon and Spotify and Podcast Addict and any other podcast program. But that's how you do it. It's really very simple. Once it's set up, it's just a matter of uploading it, scheduling it when you want it to come out, and that's it. Now, you do need to create a graphic, like for your cover, but you can use Canva to do that. And of course, you can always call me, email me. contact me. Let me know if you need help with that. I'm more than happy to help. I know I did a webinar on graphics, but if you need help, feel free, let me know. Anyway, so that's it. You upload your episode, add a short description, and hit publish. And then you can share the link to that podcast on LinkedIn, Pinterest. You can put up, if it's a video, you can put up the YouTube, email, on your newsletter, anywhere. Get as many people there as possible. The more, the better. All right. Now, the starter kit, what I would recommend, I put a link here to Amazon. That's where I got all my equipment. I use it's just a generic microphone. It does have a filter, but I originally started with a desktop version, but I found that it's just for my desk. I have a lot of things on my desk, and a very big screen, so it takes up a lot of space. So I found that I just wanted an arm. I wanted something that I can move the microphone away when I don't need it, and then move it towards me when I did need it, and not take up any desk space. So that's what I have. I moved to that, but it's just a generic. It's nothing special. So you just want a microphone that works very well for you, and fits in your price range. There's also lapel microphones that you can just clip on here. I have a link to the one that I purchased. It's a wireless one, and that's good if you're doing a podcast outdoors. You're outside, you're away from the computer. Right now I'm sitting in my office at my desk with the camera and the microphone. But if I were to do a podcast away, if I was going to interview somebody at a coffee shop, or, outside on my front porch, whatever, then I would use that lapel microphone, and I would give them a lapel microphone, and then just use the phone to record it. But whatever ends up working for you, obviously don't need the lapel right away. But if you're going to do podcasting, in your car or whatever, then yeah, you're going to want to get that. Again, you can record with Audacity, Zoom, or ScreenPal. You're going to host with Buzzsprout or Podbean, Calendly, and then you can get all kinds of content, information, topics, ideas, actual scripts, everything from ChatGPT. You can do it any way that you like. What I would recommend is to just start with just get the equipment, get yourself comfortable with it, and then just do 5 minutes. Just do a little 5-minute intro, record it. I know with Buzzsprout, I'm not sure with Podbean, but with Buzzsprout, that's what I use. The way it works is you can create a recording of an introduction, and then that introduction will always pop up. It'll always come. You can upload your podcast, but then when it gets broadcast out to podcast programs like Spotify and Podcast Addict and Amazon and all of those, the introduction will be automatically added. So you can create an introduction, and you can create an outro, they call it, which is something at the end, asking people to subscribe, go to your website, whatever. Again, when you listen to other people's podcasts, you'll get an idea of the scenario. Usually it's an introduction, which is a standard introduction that you hear on every podcast. Then it's the actual podcast, the person talking or persons. And then it's the outro, which again is, it's just a generic thing that comes on all the time. Sometimes in the middle, there are commercials. If they're sponsored, you'll hear ads, or you'll hear the actual podcaster, performing the ad. And then some podcasts go straight into the person talking. You can do it any way you like, whatever you prefer and feel comfortable with. The best thing that I can say about podcasting is, like everything else, you want to be consistent. So if you're going to publish your podcast every Monday by 8 a.m., then that's what you want to do. You want to make sure that the podcast comes out every Monday by 8 a.m. That shows the algorithms, the search engines, and all the programs where your podcast gets put in, that you're serious. It's not just a fly by night. Is that right? Fly by night phrase. Anyway, it's not just, a casual thing. It's a serious business. You're doing it just like everything else. You want to publish your articles on the same time, Pinterest, YouTube, all of that. You can reuse the content. If you've written an article, or if you have read an article, maybe let's say you read an article on Wall Street Journal about aging in place or homes. I just saw a thing on the news about a community in Austin, Texas, that is all 3D homes. They're 1,500 plus square foot homes, and it's a 55 plus community. And I think it's 55 plus community, and it's all 3D homes. And that is quite amazing. So maybe you want to do a podcast on that. It doesn't have to be any major revelation. You could just be talking about news, anything at all. That's the beauty of podcasting. It can be anything, whatever news you want to share. I say to start, you want to have 3, 4, 5 podcasts in the can, so that you're not pressured to do a podcast every week or month, however you want to do it. Personally, I think at least once a week is the minimum. I listen to podcasts new podcasts come out every single day, some twice a week, but the majority of them are usually once a week. So I would recommend to at least do that. So having 4 or 5 or more in the can, like already there, ready to go, it takes a lot of stress out of you, because you can relax and just do the others on a regular basis. I think it's a good idea usually to do 1, 2, or 3 at a time. If you do videos and you want to change your shirt to see that to make it look like you're different, you can do that. You don't have to, but I think it's a great way, because you're in that mode, right? You've got everything going. You've got all the equipment set up. Why not just sit and do several of them all at once? Batching. I learned that from the book Atomic Habits. Batching is my friend, just like compounding is my friend. And I think that's it. That's it. It's a nice short webinar. I hope you get out there and start doing these podcasts. If you think that there are too many podcasts out there, that's not true. There are so many people out there looking for information. And if you put it out as educational, and then of course link to your site, your Facebook page or LinkedIn page, whatever, that only helps to grow your expertise. And as far as internet marketing, when your name is attached to podcasts, to YouTube videos, to articles, to social media, then, your authority just expands. And believe me, after a while, it may take a year, it may take 2 years, but, depending on how much you put out there, but after a while, you will start getting calls. You don't have to go out and do as much networking, as much pavement pounding. You don't have to do that. The calls will come to you, because people will be finding you in all kinds of places. So, all right. If you have any questions, let me know. I am here to answer them. And I think I have the Calendly link on the page, so you can always schedule a talk with me. And I'd love to help you. All right, take care, and I'll see you next time. Actually, I think next week it'll be the live call. Yeah, near the end of August. So I'll see you then. Take care. Bye.